If 100 people ask me, where can you find a cold outreach, LinkedIn, email person, appointment setter, like 99 of those people fucking fail. And the reason is because they're trying to address a symptom without understanding the deeper level problem. And what I would focus on for scalability is come up with like 5 to 10 rotating offers that you can run continuously forever. Come to is your own realization that I'm giving away 10 or 20 times the value of what I'm asking for. And then it not only feels like a no-brainer to the customer, but it feels like a no-brainer to you making it. You're almost like, why would anybody say no? Welcome back, folks. Enough goofing off camera. By the way, we're making, I'm doubling up. We're making YouTube thumbnails as I make those goofy faces for those of you guys who are wondering. Excited to have you guys back for another round of agency awesomeness. You guys are kicking ass, and I love that about you guys. I love seeing you guys build more freedom. I really think that's what this is about, is impacting clients' lives, building freedom for yourself, and then ultimately being able to do what you really love. So excited to hear that. Before we get rocking and rolling, just a quick little announcement. I have created a self-paced version, my man Zad. Sup, motherfucker? By the way, I actually created something. This is a fun little aside. But we were at a mastermind once, and folks asked me, how do you like sort out good clients from bad clients? And I said, it came around to me, and everybody else had, like, they had valuable inputs. But I said, well, I have my what's up, motherfucker test. And they said, what's up, motherfucker test? And I said, basically, like, if you can call a client and go, what's up, motherfucker? And they think that's hilarious, then you got, like, a really good client. But if you call them and you go, what's up, motherfucker? And they're like, that was the most unprofessional thing I've ever seen in my life. And so I'm not saying that all of you guys should do what's up, motherfucker. It's just a little authenticity test. Quick little announcement for you guys after that shenanigan story is that we have launched the self-paced version of the Loom workshop selling. That's for those of you guys who want to... even though I put out a bunch of awesome free training on YouTube for you guys how to do that, I still get lots of questions about like the details and can you review this. So I put it all together for you guys who want to do that in a self-paced version. If you're interested, let me know. Shoot me a message after, and I will drop you some details. Actually, let me just put a link real quick. If I can find it, let's see. As you can tell, I'm disorganized this morning, but I love you guys, so let's get in there. Where is that? Loom conversion machine. This is the self-paced version. Put a link below. If you guys are interested, you can check that out. If you're not, that's cool too. You won't hurt my feelings. I love you guys no matter what. Also, let's get into the good stuff while I'm sitting here fumbling and bubbling, waiting for this Google link, or this, there we go, Google Doc link. There you go. So... ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of all ages, Frankie Finn proudly brings you our weekly Q&A. You guys always have awesome questions, by the way. Shaz messaged me and said, I'm trying to cold call lawyers, but I keep getting stopped at the front desk. What would you recommend? I'm going to give you a twofold answer. I'll give you the direct answer, Shaz, which is... everything I know about cold calling that has ever worked, I learned from a guy named Ari Gelper, and he gives all of his stuff away for free on YouTube. And what he basically says is there is a script, and by the way, this is true of cold outreach, like when you message somebody, there is a script that most people use when they're cold calling and selling something that give themselves away without realizing, and it sounds like this. Hi, my name is whatever your name is. I'm calling from company... whatever the name of your company is. And the reason I'm calling today is blank. And so they've already sized you up as a salesperson, as somebody to ignore. We've been trained to automatically reject salespeople. And so what they do that's different is they just talk about like issues and they don't introduce themselves. So like customers, when a customer calls, they say things like, hey, what time you guys open? But they don't say, hey, my name's Frankie. I'm calling from my house. And the reason I'm calling today is to find out what time are you guys open till. Like customers are way more direct and they just say, what's the manager's number, right? What time you guys open till? Are you guys, do you guys have the thing on sale over there? Like customers are very, very direct. And so what he made it really simple is to talk about issues and to talk about outcomes and just reach out directly. Who's the person who handles the marketing there? Like that kind of thing. And it sounds like you're getting stuck at the front desk. Having said that, I think a much smarter strategy than just cold calling a bunch of motherfuckers is to they already have self-organized into communities, and I like to float out what I call is a hand raiser, which is a summary of the offer. Like if you're gonna get somebody car accident cases, then I'd say, who here is interested in seeing how we're getting car accident cases? And I let them come to me, but I've purposely gone to where they are and put a hand raiser in front of them, and it's much more pull. It's a different dynamic because they've made the first move to you. But we're being very proactive. Like the thing that's really good and smart about outreach, in my opinion, or cold calling is it's proactive. You don't wait for clients to show up. So we want to bring that proactivity, but we want to do it in a smarter way where it's more pull, because like we want to be seen as like heart surgeons, in my opinion, and not as like door knockers. Like, hey, do you want to buy one of these? Yeah. Derek's got it. I mean, it's a common script. So I hope that's helpful, my man. But I would say check out Ari Galper and then think about like how you can go into communities where lawyers already are and bring them to you. I think it's a better way to do that, especially when you're just like trying to get your first couple of clients under the belt consistently. Vina says, any recommendations for a VA who can do cold email outreach or LinkedIn outreach? Vina, I'm going to give you like the worst answer in history, which is, I'll tell you, if 100 people ask me, where can I find a cold outreach, LinkedIn, email person, appointment setter? Like 99 of those people fucking fail. And the reason is because they're trying to address a symptom without understanding the deeper level problem. The deeper level problem is your offer as it currently is something that people don't want. It's a very different thing to say like, hey, we've sold 10 of these this month, and now we want to bring in an appointment setter to help set appointments for something that's working. That usually works. But when your offer is not selling, what most people do is think, oh, I'll get an appointment setter and that'll fix it. And it very, very rarely works like that because you're just addressing the symptom. So my answer is figure out what your market wants, because there are always unmet needs within there. And if you do that, you'll just do a lot better and you'll crush it more consistently, because this is the thing, right? Like, I know it'd be really nice to have a VA who could just take all your work and book all your appointments, make all the magic happen. But until your offer works, you got nothing. And I experienced this too, because we're like actually like we've had a lot of hiring lately in the different projects we're working on. And what I found is a lot of times, if we have the structure set up and we have the thing working and then we bring somebody on, then they're just like adding something to what's working. If we have something that's not working and we're looking for someone to come in and solve that problem, almost always it falls flat on its face. And this is true of like managers, this is true of delivery people, this is true of media buyers, this is true of appointment setters. And so people you look for appointment setters when what they really need is just to get their fucking process working. One of my mentors says, effective before efficient. So before you try and put somebody on it, before you try and replace yourself, like get it working. So I know it's probably not the answer you want to hear, but I think it's the truth, and I think it'll make your life like more successful in the long run. So Dustin says, what are some good ways to get over ad fatigue? I have a client that has a solid offer hook, but I feel like we've been running it for a while with different looking ads. The quality has been a little lower than I would like to see. What did you do to get over that, Dustin? By the way, 100% of offers will fatigue at some point. 100% guaranteed. So I think the easiest way to take an offer that has been working and like breathe new life into it is to what one of my mentors calls the slice and dice, is to create like miniaturized version. Like, so let's say it's like somebody's a weight loss coach and they're having success coaching people, and then all of a sudden that offer stops working. Well, they can come up with the version of it for people who are over 40 years old. They can come for the version of it that's for executive level employee or like, you know, high level like professionals that need help because they have like very little time. You can come up with a version for the stay-at-home mom. You can come home for the version for losing the pregnancy weight. Like there's all kinds of different spins you can put on the same offer. So almost always, if you want to breathe new life into an offer that has been working a long time but has hit that fatigue point, you got to find like variations of it and spin-offs of it in order to breathe new life into it. So hope that's helpful, my man. Kyle says, Looking for some new financing companies to work with for my agency prospects. Currently using Coach Finance and not necessarily impressed with them. Open to other options. What do you guys suggest? Kyle, before I got into like mentoring other people, I actually took a high ticket coaching program to figure out how to raise my prices in my agency. And one of the things that I ultimately realized is when you have really high end prices, like there's just a certain segment of it that can't afford it and wants to finance it. And so a lot of people, what they do is they go looking for companies and they have all these complex options. I found after all these years of doing it, I like to just finance it myself, especially if you have what I call a self-milking cow, which means like if people use a little bit of your stuff, they'll make more money, and therefore then they therefore have more money to pay you. And so that we just finance it ourselves using like Zoho payments and Stripe together. And if you combine those two things, you can just like create payment plans and you determine whether or not you think somebody is qualified. You don't have to ask for any third party. If for some reason you're dealing with somebody that like just gives you the wrong vibe, you can always just like not finance them. But as a general rule, like I found the best thing is just finance it yourself, especially if you got the self-milking cow. Gabriel says, actually, these weren't questions this next little bit so much as like just comments from a thread from what you guys were up to. But Gabriel says what he's looking for is a killer offer like you have for lawyers. We do Google shopping ads for e-com stores with about 120 clients. However, Google ads for e-com is a red ocean. For blue ocean, thinking either something to recover abandoned cart users or exit intent pop-ups or a powerful retargeting stack. I don't know if this could work for e-com. I'm going through your book and intro training right now. Yes, my man, Gabriel. I think you're on the right track. Like, I compare this idea to what most companies really, really, really need. Yeah, by the way, Derek, you're up like a couple of questions from now, but I'll move it up next and answer it next since you're here live. But as far as the e-commerce and stuff, is I call this phenomenon the goal line running back. And what will happen is if you talk to 100 businesses that want to make more money and want to expand and want to grow and want to have a bigger impact and do those kind of things, like almost like 99 out of 100 will tell you, and they believe it, that the way to grow is to get more new people in the door. And if you believe them and take that at face value, you'll go trying to like generate what the hardest business in existence. But almost always they have balls dropped all the way along like the journey. They have this leaky bucket that's leaking leads and stuff like that. And so I have a concept that I call the goal line running back. And for those of you guys who played fantasy football, you can confirm what I'm saying is often in fantasy football, there's a running back who brings the ball all the way up the field and he'll get like 5-6 points for picking up 50-60 yards. And then there's a guy that they'll swap out last minute and his job is just to bang it in to the end zone. And almost always that guy makes 6 points and the guy who took the ball like all the way up the field gets 6 points. Well, this is true in business. What businesses really struggle with is punching the ball in 5 yards from the goal line. And what they tell you is what they need is more new leads. So like if I take a law firm like close to the goal line, they don't answer the phone. They don't call people back. They don't know what to say when people pick up the phone. They can't answer basic questions. They don't invite people to close, on and on and on like that. So the more you can work with what's already close to the goal line, or we created a retargeting offer because they would spend all this money driving traffic to their website. And then all of a sudden when it's 5 yards out from the goal line, like they just let that traffic leave their website and don't really do anything to follow up with it. So there's always opportunities 5 yards from the goal line. So that's part of coming up with the blue ocean is like when you stop trying to move the ball 100 or 99 yards up the field and generate new strangers and to go, let me just help you punch in some of the stuff that's close. Having said that, the other thing that'll probably help is just positioning, meaning if you got 120 clients, you probably got a whole spectrum. And like 80-20 says like a couple of those you're crushing it for. A couple of those are miserable and hate your service, and the vast majority of them are in the middle. If you can identify what those 10 or 20 at the top are doing, then what you can do is you can clone them and you can make that your niche, and therefore it'll give you a competitive advantage. And your offer will automatically get better just by being more clear about who it's about. So if I say like I'll do SEO for any business, that's not as powerful if I say I do SEO for the top plastic surgeons on earth who spend $100,000 a month and need to absolutely be number one, right? Like those sound like similar offers on the surface, but like for the right person, that second one will convert way better. So I hope that helps you. Sergius, I hope I'm saying that right, my man. That is a cool name. Teaching clients how to convert leads. This is a common thing, by the way. Clients suck at closing leads in general and then blame you. And all you got to do with that is the more you can help clients, the more you can see your job is it's my job to like actually help you close deals, and less like I'm the guy to generate leads. And then this what I experienced when I worked in a factory, like it's someone else's responsibility once I've passed it on to the next thing, and own that whole process. As a general rule, you'll make a lot more fucking money and be a lot more valuable to clients. So like Jeff Miller does this amazingly well. They do live transfer. So when they have an interested person, he has like somebody actually answer the phone, call them, pre-qualify it, and then forward the call to the business, in his case, the dental office, and help them like actually handhold them through the closing process. So I hope that's helpful. We got Derek, my man, doing this a little bit out of order. Derek says, hello, everyone. Pleasure to be here. I'm just going to move this question in my order. So there we go. I own a digital marketing agency that helps restaurants generate reservations through meta ads. I'm having a hard time figuring out how I can track each sale that comes from one of my ads. Does anyone have a strategy that would work? The only strategy I can think of is there's some type of QR code that is scanned in order to get the free incentive, or how I track the past month of sales and get a ballpark number based on the increased revenue the month I'm generating leads. Any thoughts would help. So firstly, Derek, I'm going to tell you something that I don't think anybody will really admit to, but at the highest levels, when you like do what I call omnipresence for business, attribution is a myth. And I experienced this when I would be in the top masterminds of some of the top lawyers in the world, which I haven't done for probably about 4 years because all the COVID travel and craziness of all that. But having said that, one of the things I would notice is the guys who spend all the money on TV and billboards and radio and all those things, they can't, and then they have one single branding number across all of it that's easy to remember. They can't track leads, and anybody who tells them they can track leads is lying. So, like for example, if someone sees 30 years of commercials for a lawyer, then gets in an accident, and on the way for home sees a billboard, and then when they go home they Google lawyers, and then click on that lawyer's Google ad, and then gets retargeted on Facebook and YouTube, like, what would you attribute that lead to? And any one of those things, they're all woven in together. So at the higher levels, there really is no attribution. So I want you to understand that. So I know there are tracking tools with technology and things like that, but I'll tell you what I think the simplest, best way to do it is with offers, is help your restaurant client come up with offers. For restaurants, there's an endless number of offers. You can take anything that's on their menu right now and turn it into an offer. We got a half-price appetizer. We got drinks. We got 2-for-1 lasagna. We got chicken wings. And if you need inspiration, like literally just go look at other restaurants and see specials that are working, because they're putting them on for a reason. Almost all of them work on the same principle of the loss leader, which means you advertise something that you're probably going to lose money on. Like supermarkets do this, where they say, we got a can of soup for 29 cents if you come in, and they lose money on every one of those can of soups, but people buy 99 other things when they're there. And so you can do this with desserts and appetizers and group parties and birthdays and events, and it's, whatever. Like, you can make up endless number of reasons. I found that to be the best attribution model, because if you advertise like we got 2 pizzas for $19.99 with a Coke and a side of chicken wings, and people come in and say, I'm here for the 2 pizza, Coke, and chicken wing special, then like where else could they have come from you other than your stuff? And what I would focus on for scalability is come up with like 5 to 10 rotating offers that you can run continuously forever, right? Like, so that like you can start month 1 saying you get a half price appetizer, and month 2 you get a free dessert if you come in, and then at the end of it you go right back to the first one after like 5 months, or right to the thing that started first working. So it might be the free or the half-price appetizer you go back to. But the best attribution model, in my experience, is offers. Having said that, like you're never going to get attribution 100%, and I think it's actually a myth when people tell you, especially because I know you're running ads across platforms. But what ended up, one of the conversations you'll have when lawyers like really got it is like, hey, I tell them like, hey, we're running like multi-channel ads, like we can't fully track and attribute everything, especially when you got a branding phone number on there, but who gives a shit if it's working? And we have lots of micro indicators that it's working. So like some of the micro indicators that you may not realize are micro indicators are like people looking at the ads, are they clicking on them? If you're making videos, are they consuming the videos? Because all of those are micro indicators that you're actually driving people into the restaurant. So I hope that's helpful, my man. It's probably not perfect answer, but like I think attribution is mostly bullshit. But having said that, if you're doing enough that you want to attribute it, the best tracking tool that I know of is Hyros from Alex Becker. Adrian says, I'm looking for a way to open the conversation. That's the current obstacle. I can do personalized short video SEO audits of a prospect site, and that can show expertise until I can come up with a better intro offer. Adrian, almost always what I mentioned earlier is people use this script when they cold call, and it's the same thing in cold outreach. They do almost the identical thing, and they do this form of it. Hi, my name is blank. I'm from company ABC. And the reason I'm messaging, calling, contacting you today is because, and almost always it puts you in a box of like this salesperson. I always say this like in our mastermind, if you know how to open, then people will work for you that are great closers. Everybody thinks they want a great closer in their business, but great closers work for great openers. And opening almost always, I'll tell you a couple of things that have made opening. I don't like to give scripts because people then copy and paste the scripts and then marketers beat them to death and then they stop working. But I'll tell you what works really well for me is the first thing I do is I almost always open my conversations with commenting something about them. And the cool thing about social media is it's not hidden. Like I can click on your profile and see the last fucking 5 things you've been up to and who you did them with and where you did them, right? Like, so somebody did this to me the other day really, really well. And what I think people get wrong in this is they give out fake compliments. You don't give a fake compliment. You just comment on something about them. And so the guy reached out to me and said, hey, I saw you were like on a boat with some gray whales. How cool is that? Now, I just taken the family like 2 hours up here. They have gray whales for part of the season. You can get your boat. You can go like 5 feet away. Some people in other boats even got to touch the whales. We weren't so lucky. But like the boats are swimming right, or the whales are swimming right alongside our boat. It was amazing. And so that's like a personal comment that's directed only at me. And you can do this for anybody, right? Because it's all out there in social media. So instead of saying, hi, I'm so-and-so, and I'm contacting you because, be like, hey, man, how cool is it that you're like, went with the gray whales, right? Like, and again, don't give phony compliments, just comment on them. Like, that looks like a cool family adventure, right? The second thing I do, and this is like a really, really powerful thing, is I do what's called naming their baby. Everybody has a thing they're trying to sell, and the more you can name that thing specific to them, the more meaningful it is. So I'll give you the difference in like, I get pitched people like trying to help me sell my book, and they'll say, hey, Frankie, I want to help you sell your book. There's a huge difference between can I help you sell your book and can I help you sell beyond the agency box. Like everybody's baby has a name. And so if you can name the thing they're trying to do, it immediately makes your opening more powerful. Hey, Frankie, I want to help you sell beyond the agency box is more powerful than can I help you sell more books, right? More books is a generic kind of version of it, but can I help you sell this book in particular? Everybody's baby has a name. So if you name their baby, you'll be stronger in opening. And then the third thing I do is I think about opening as like what I'm giving, not as what I'm trying to get them to do. If you really understand this, like message 1 is to give, not to ask. And the way I do this ethically is really, really simple, is I give ideas for free and I charge for implementation. So like if I'm selling SEO, I'd be like, dude, I had like 17 ideas for how you could like really pimp, ABC website and turn it into like the top fucking plumber in Frog Balls, Nebraska. And the more you can like really like name their thing and then focus on what you're giving, obviously, like our incentives are clear. Like we do this to grow a business, to make money, to impact people, but you don't write about those things. And then the other thing people I think get wrong is they think opening is designed to sell somebody in one message, and it's just designed to open a conversation, open a buying conversation. It'd be like, if you're trying to meet a girl, the worst thing you could do is try and close at message 1 and be like, hey baby, do you want to go upstairs and like hook up with me? Right? Like you're going to just get shot down over and over. But if you say like, hey, you seem really cool, can we sit down and talk? Like you're going to have a bit, or like, hey, like I'm interested in you. Maybe you would want to sit down with me for coffee. Like it's more simple. It's more direct. Mama do. My man Claude Lapointe had a nice smile from seeing your response. I sent him the video. So, Adrian, those are the principles of opening, by the way. So I hope that helps you, my man, because opening is like, once you learn the opening skill, you can basically create endless opportunities. When you don't know how to open, you got to wait for other people to do it for you. But if you know how to open, like you have endless opportunities in business, as many as you want, and you can turn it on and off whenever you want to. Marco says how to get 200K per month national level clients. I can't speak for every industry, Marco, but I can tell you what like 200K per month legal clients look like. It's very easy. They leave a trace, right? You can pull lists of all the people spending on TV. You can pull lists of the people spending on radio. You can like literally go to Google and see which ones are advertising right now. You can see which ones are paying for reviews. You can see which ones have like a gazillion reviews. Usually those are the guys spending all the money. Like they're not hidden. Behavior makes that transparent. So like you can see like in the legal, like they're the ones who pay for the billboards. The guys with 200K per month spend on billboards. The guys who don't have 200K per month don't spend that. So I always just piece it together with behavior. It helps me identify the good clients. Hope that makes your life easier. Neil says, the long-term asset. I'm not quite sure of the pitch. Let me take your database and create a group, and then I can offer them things forever. How does your client stay involved or get a benefit? Neil, I think like part of this is just having a reframe of like what you're offering. So it sounds like in your case, and I mentioned this before, like when you're reaching out to people or having conversations, like obviously it's clear what your benefit is, but that's not what we ever talk about. Like we don't have to hide that fact either, but like almost always messaging is about what you're going to give in return for that. So I'll tell you, like I've made some offers recently, as you guys may have noticed. Some of you guys, like, I'm helping out with Isaac Rudansky's group, and that's because I made an offer. And the offer, by the way, was just something like, your group's being neglected because I know you're too busy, and I'd like to like turn it into a source of revenue for you and actually benefit you and benefit the community. Here's what I had in mind to do that. Like, what do you think? Right? And so in doing that, it's all about what I'm gonna give. I'm gonna give to the community. I'm gonna give value. I'm gonna make you look good. I'm gonna help monetize it. I'm gonna send you a royalty check, right? Like, yeah, of course, like Frankie Finn wants the royalty checks too, but I don't lead with that. That's not like the center of the conversation. I mean, if they ask what's in it for you, I'm not like trying to hide that fact. But almost always, like if you're clear on what you're taking, I'm not saying that's a bad thing, but you also need to get clarity about what you're giving, and then all of a sudden your approach to people will be different once you see what you're doing as more give than take. Like once you understand that you're giving 10 times the value you're asking for, like what's the message almost writes itself. I want to give you 10x, and when that's all like, and so the message almost always comes from the attitude of like, I want to bake you a bigger pie, and then once that bigger pie is finished and I made you look good, can I just have a big fat piece for myself after? And if you understand that, like, then it's easy to approach people, because like I want to take your pie and give you a bunch of delicious dessert that you don't have to do anything for. And then the flip side of that is, like, of course, like if you do that right, people will just turn over databases and information and lists and customer lists and help you monetize, or let you monetize them, and be happy about it, by the way, that you're like in the business of like getting your own assets. So I know that's kind of an advanced topic, but always be clear about, like, of course there's a take element of every offer you make, like you receive something for it too, but I want you guys to get more clear about what you're giving in return for that. And if you speak to those things, what you'll inevitably come to is your own realization that I'm giving away 10 or 20 times the value of what I'm asking for. And then it not only feels like a no-brainer to the customer, but it feels like a no-brainer to you making it. You're almost like, why would anybody say no? Jeremy said, or Mamadou, sorry. He says, cool, would selling free access to exclusive Facebook group your ideal prospects and spill the beans in a DIY, is there a good idea? I never know for sure. What I always do is I always like, so to give you an idea of like what doing this wrong is, because in essence you're asking me like, is this a good idea? Like, would the market want to take this? And the truth is, I don't fucking know. And so I'll tell you what I used to do wrong. I remember I had a friend of mine, I was sitting down with him, he's a mortgage broker in Toronto, Canada, and he said to me, hey, I said, like, how are you getting your business these days? And this was long before I was like wanted to be a marketing guy or anything like that. And he said to me, oh, I buy leads on the internet. But he said, it kind of sucks though, because it's like $30 a lead and they sell the same lead to like 20, 30 times. And I quickly did math in my head and I'm like, $30 times 20 is 600. I'm like, you're paying, like, they're selling one person's contact info for $600. So I decided I wanted to generate mortgage leads, and I went through this whole rigmarole of building this website, which was like a mortgage search engine. And it took me probably 14, 15 months to rank it in Google, which is what I knew those days. And what ended up happening is once I got to like number 2 or number 3, I started getting real traffic, and I realized that nobody was really that interested in filling out my mortgage thing because it wasn't a problem the market had. I was solving something that the market didn't really need or want in that moment. And so why I consider it such a failure is because I invested 14, 15 years in building something that was never going to work. And so now I like to fail way faster. And so what I do is I like to put a summary of the offer out there. I call this a hand raiser. And when you put a hand raiser in front of people, if I had said, who's interested in checking out our mortgage search engine, and we can spit out like, whatever I was promising at the time, I don't even remember, but we can spit out like, the top brokers or the top rates or whatever I was offering, something like that, who'd be interested in seeing that, and I got crickets, then I would know in 15 minutes, like, don't do more of that. So this is my way of saying, like, if you think it's a good idea, like, test it, like, validate that idea as fast as humanly possible. That's what I like to do. The truth is, I don't fucking know, and I don't think anybody really knows. But what we want to do is, like, I like to find out within 10 or 15 minutes whether or not that'll work. And what I find is usually if people will raise their hand for the offer, the summary of it, they're likely to buy it. If they don't raise their hand, they're not likely to buy it. So, like, for example, like, we just did a thing where it was like Jordan created a free plugin with Chat GPT. I can say that correctly. And it's something, a lot of you guys raised your hand for that video, and he wasn't sure he wanted to build the plugin. So I said, let's just make a video, show people the plugin, and if they want it, they'll say, like, I'm interested. And if they're not interested, nobody will say anything, and then we don't have to build the plugin if nobody wants the damn plugin. In this case, like, a lot of people were interested, so he's actually going to build it. The Loom video and the offer is access to the group. Partly, yeah, we do have a group, and there is a community. Also includes like personal review from me, and then we've done some more like advanced training, because even though like I put all the stuff out there for free on YouTube, there's people who have questions about implementing and how to make it work with my specific offer, because I know like it's interesting, like Loom videos are interesting, the fact that you can close people just over video, but there's always like little nuances and details of, you know, if you do it for a plumber, if you do it for e-commerce, to just really nail those elements. So that's the other piece, is just helping folks nail those last few details and get the specifics in so they can get it working and converting. We've actually had people just who went through the workshop, the live version, which you guys will see posted tomorrow. Like Mark, for example, just closed 20 clients in 1 month and now has all kinds of crazy delivery problems, but we'll show you guys what he did, how he did it. And, you know, that's the kind of benefit, I guess, is just getting that kind of up close, personal, friendly touch. If you guys think that'll benefit you, you may want to check that out. If you don't, like I said, if you're just not at the level where you can pay for it and like do it faster, that's cool too. I put the stuff out there for free on YouTube, so it's just like a more detailed version of the free one. We go into like 6 weeks of depth of like all the deeper principles behind it, because what we're really doing is it's not just about selling through video, it's about building energy leverage in what you're doing so that you're clonable. So like the reason I want to sell my services through a video is because then I don't have to like take sales calls the rest of my life, right? I can always have a video deliver sales calls for me, and it never takes a day off. And the reason I want to build scalable systems is so I have energy leverage in my business, so that managing 100 clients is no more work than managing 10, right? Like that's how you want to set up your system. So that's the deeper idea. We go into some of the deeper ideas as well. If you're interested, you can check that out. Last one we got up, Jeremy says, to all the former generalists in this group, how did you make the shift into a niche, especially if it was a niche where you had no previous experience? How did you go about landing clients in that niche without any case studies, testimonials, or whatever? Trying to transition out of the generalist space into a niche we have no previous experience. Firstly, Jeremy, I've helped a lot of people go from like being a generalist to like being a high-paid specialist over the years. And I'll tell you, almost always is they assume that they need somebody outside of a niche they've already worked with. And the question I usually start with is like, okay, like you understand you don't want to be a generalist anymore. And so they'll start saying, well, I just want to work with chiropractors and build something like scalable like you build. And I'll often say, but of the clients you've already helped now, are there any that were like really good that you had great results with and that like you really enjoyed and they were a good fit and you guys made a bunch of money together? And there's almost always like a handful of them. And say, like, why don't you pick one of those as your niche? Like you have a proven concept and things like that. Almost always, like this was such a profound shift. I was saying this to someone the other day. Is I have a mentor in the legal space, and what blew my mind is like when I watched him live, he was like a total OG. His name's Ken. He would spend almost his whole day going golfing and fishing, and he loved going to karaoke at night. And in there, he had like a $3 million a year business, and he never seemed to really work on it very hard. Like he had so much leverage. And I asked him like, "How the hell do you do this, Ken?" And he said to me, I'll never forget. And he said, "Well, buddy, I like to do things that I can do once and get paid for again and again." And I started to realize, like, the statement was so simple and so profound that when he asked it from me, it was like I realized I had none of that. I didn't have like an immediate answer, but I was like, everything I do is do once, get paid once. And so the transition from generalist to niche is setting up your systems so they become do once, get paid twice. The same way like Ray Kroc doesn't have to make every burger at McDonald's. He built the system that makes the burgers, and now the burgers get made at scale over and over as many times, and he never has to flip them, right? So like that's what we're thinking about doing. So almost always it's something you've already done once, and now you're just thinking about getting paid twice for what you already built. Having said that, if you do go into a new niche, understand it usually takes like 6 to 8 months in my experience to learn just their terminology. Like for example, like I'll see people try to break in with dentists, and they'll say to a dentist, "I can get you more customers." Well, a dentist doesn't call his people customers, he calls them patients. And so as soon as you say, "I'll get you more customers," he knows you're not one of them. And so getting that like niche specific, like a lawyer will say like, "Hey, I've been working on a brief," and they mean a 10,000 word lawyer document. The only people in the world who write 10,000 word documents and call it brief. But every niche has those like unique terminologies, and so if you go into something new, you have to learn that all again. For that reason, I would probably recommend like not doing that. Having said that, like the transition from generalist to specialist is really just thinking about that leverage. It's like a lot of people ask me questions about like what's the perfect niche. It's not about finding the secret niche with money. It's about bringing repeatability into your deliverable, because what works for one plumber can be used again for another plumber, can be used again for another plumber, can be used again for another plumber. And so it's more about that and less about like, because plumbers make more money than chiropractors, right? It's not like people think. There's almost always like people making money and not making money in every single niche on existence. Nicky Two Angels says, "How can you tell if a niche is a good fit for you?" First thing is, like, I don't really think there's as many bad niches as people think, but I would rule out the ones where they don't spend money, or that like they can find it easily online without the profession. So like for example, like insurance, like you're not going to run paid ads for insurance because they can just search on geico.com and get a quote without an agent. So I wouldn't run paid ads ever for anybody in insurance. So there can be bad niches, and they're usually related to like insurance, regulation, or the fact that they're like they can get it for free online. So other than that, like most niches are good. And what most people don't understand, it's really more about the niche within the niche. So like let's say like I started a while back, my niche was lawyers, and then I worked with like I don't know a dozen or so lawyers, and I realized that like they're not all equal. They're just not. And so inevitably you start to focus on the ones that are easier to help than the ones who aren't. And then you find out like even within there, so I chose personal injury, and then you find out there's a spectrum within there. There's like personal injury lawyers who spend like $25 million a year just on TV ads, and there's broke personal injury lawyers just starting out. And then you go, oh, I want to aim for the most well-off ones inside of there, because it's more about helping winners win more than it is trying to turn losers into winners. I'm not saying you guys can't do that. So what I usually do is I start with a niche and then just make sure like that people are spending money in it, that there are like, people trying to grow and market themselves. And then I focus on the niche within the niche. Like if I wouldn't just choose real estate agents, like I would narrow down to like commercial real estate agents that have more than $100,000 average ticket price of their thing, and close a deal at least once a month and have X number of dollars already invested into their marketing machine. Like that's a niche within a niche within a niche. But that's how you want to really think about it. And as far as Jeremy, your question about how do you land clients in a niche without case studies and testimonials, I found out like for me there's like 3 levels. So there's level 1 where you get on calls with people or you connect with people in sales conversations, and they tell you in level 1 like, I want to talk to other people you worked with, I want to see results of your work, and they sort of like, you can feel the fact that they don't trust you. And then there's a level 2 where you've helped enough people and it starts to become inbound, and you get less of that, but still like you have it. So now when people ask, you go, yeah, sure, check out my case study here, talk to so and so, and it becomes easier. And then eventually you get to a third stage pass it where people ask you that question, and you no longer feel the need to give case studies. And usually you're like, hey, listen, like we used to do that, and it just turns out to be an excuse not to work together. Like our clients are busy and they don't need phone calls from everybody who's interested in potentially using our services. So if you're not ready to do that, let's just call it a no, and that's totally cool. You won't hurt my feelings by being a no, but what I don't want is to like have people harass my clients and stuff like. And if you're not ready, like that's let's talk about it another day when you feel like you know it makes more sense. And almost always they're like, yeah, you're right. Like I don't need to talk to 27 people. Like, and what happens is your confidence and certainty comes from like, yes, I know how to do this, and yes, I know how to help you. And you don't realize that you can do that in the beginning. You can go straight to like confidence and certainty. And the way I do this is I just give people what my plan would be for them. In other words, how I would help them. I give them the ideas for free, and if they like the ideas, then I'm like, I'm here to help you implement it. And of course, I know how to implement whatever ideas I just gave you because they're my ideas, right? I wouldn't have given it to you if I didn't know how to implement them. And so what I do in those situations, rather than like case studies and blah, 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 just tell them how you're going to help them. If they agree that would be useful to them, then be like, all right, are you interested in getting my help to do it? So that's how you get around the case studies. And then, of course, you can always shrink the size of your ask. If you're asking for a 12-year or 12-month SEO contract, you're gonna get more like I need case studies and testimonials than if you're saying like just give me one keyword in 30 days. Like we don't need to like be partners for life. Let me just show you I can move the needle on this one keyword. You're number 4 for it right now. If I can get you in the map pack in the top 3, like you're gonna get phone calls out of it. Let me just move you from 4 to like 2, and you'll see. And then at the end of 30 days, if you want more of that, I'll do more for you, right? So that's how you want to approach that kind of uncertainty. I got to go here, guys, in just a couple of minutes. I'm actually interviewing the biggest agency owner I know in real life, who's a dear friend of mine, and you guys will see that in like a week or 2 weeks when it goes live. But he is such a smart dude, and they're doing like $40 million a year. So I think it's going to be, you guys are going to get some amazing insights on like how an actual professional like really runs this business at the highest level. Having said that, just for those of you guys who missed the beginning, I put a link below, but we have the Loom conversion. I'm going to self-like it just because I'm cool like that. The Loom conversion machine, for those of you guys who are interested in doing the self-paced version, you can check that out. We go way deeper on like some of the closing and Loom concepts, and you see some of the inside stuff. And if you really understand what we're doing is we're taking the 80-20 of a sales call, and then you also get, you'll do it so much better, and then you also get some personal help from me if you guys are interested in like actually dialing your stuff in and doing that. So that's all I got for you guys. Much love to you guys. I got to roll here, and may the force be with you. Guys, if you like this video, you're also going to want to grab some free bonuses, which you can get at our website, Beyond Agency Profits. To make it easy for you, I've put the links to it in the description of this video, as well as pinned in the top comment. And we've got a couple of awesome things. This is what you'll get after you sign up. You get some of our best training, how we're closing clients over Loom videos, how we sometimes sign clients that is not a misprint for under $5 US. How to demonstrate your value in like amazing ways, trainings, how to have your clients write the best copy of your life, how we're closing without phone calls, campaigns that we've generated for clients that have done over $100,000, as well as scripts you can use to get conversations going with clients in under 10 minutes. All you got to simply do is go there, enter your name and email address, and then this is what you'll see on the other side. So if that's interesting to you, make sure to click the links below, and I will see you on the other side.